Hey, it's Mike with TechBB, and today we're going to talk about the BT TM-15. So this is pretty much like the second generation of the TM-7. It's kind of a milsim style mini, and let's talk about this gun over the TM-7. Now, some of the things that I didn't particularly like about the TM-7 was the stock design. With how paintball masks are and stuff like that, you need something that's a little more elevated. You can't have your Picatinny rail in line with your stock because you need to basically put your ear on your shoulder in order to look down the sight rail. It fixed that with the TM-15. That's probably the thing I like the most about the TM-15 is the ergonomics of it are considerably better than the TM-7 was. One of the things they did add, which is really nice, is they added these new flip-up sights or flip-down sights that are kind of cool. There's in paintball, there's still a big hole for real functional sights. I think this style design, they're on the right track. If they maybe opened up the hole here in the back a little bit and maybe kind of turned it into a ghost ring and put one of those fiber optic cable type things, one of those like green or red fiber optic cables up here at the front, and maybe made it to where it's a little bit adjustable, they would actually probably be on to something. These sights, they work fairly well. I think most players probably aren't going to use them, but they definitely look really cool. Then you've got the Picatinny rails across the sides and the bottom. And what's really funny about the Picatinny rails is that all of the accessories that fit on there, none of them really work too well in paintball. If you put a flashlight on here, all that does in the night games is make everybody shoot at you. You can't put laser pointers on there because obviously you don't want those shining into people's eyes. And also they serve no function in the woods. If you don't believe me, take a laser pointer and put it out in the woods. You're not going to see anything. They certainly look cool. But one of the things that is kind of in a void, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but is a void for paintball, is Picatinny mounted camera mounts. No one makes that, no one makes one. I've been looking around forever. I made one out of a sling mount, and you'll see it in the video coming up here when I do the barrel camera with this gun. But nobody makes a Picatinny mounted camera mount. That would be like the coolest thing to have on there, but nobody has that. But anyway. Something else that's really cool about the gun that I really like is obviously based off of the Mini. The Mini is a poppet valve gun. It's got the Mini engine in here, and what they did was they put the barrel inside of the shroud here. Now I don't really want to say the word, because obviously for many reasons that we know about, you don't really want to say that word, but it definitely works really cool, and it does baffle the sound a little bit, the fact that the porting is run inside of the barrel. The Minis are very simple to operate. Biggest thing is make sure that your pressure is set to 200 psi, which you can adjust here through the front. And then what you do is with this gun, it's a little bit tricky because they don't cover it in the manual. They kind of show you how to do it in the manual, but this actually threw me for a little bit of a loop. Let me zoom in here. Let's see if I can zoom in here. There we go. So we'll zoom in here a little bit. There's a window right here, and you can actually pull this back. It covers the velocity adjuster. So you just take that, and then you can pull it back. There it goes. And you can pull it back and then adjust the velocity. There you go. You can see it on my shirt. Now you can get your Allen key down here and pivot this back and forth. But in the manual, they don't tell you to slide this window back. And I guess what this does is prevent the inside of the gun from getting all dirty, from dirt getting in there and stuff like that. But if you try to put your Allen key in here and try to pivot it, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to actually slide that back. They didn't show that in the manual, and actually I took the stock apart, kind of in a rush to figure out how to adjust the velocity, and realize that that's actually a window that slides back and forth. Not that big of a deal. Trigger, for some reason, on this feels a little bit better than it did in the TM-7. It still uses the box spring design. Also, something that I like about it is the selector switch has a much better positive, click to it than the TM-7 did. The TM-7, it was kind of mushy going up and down. This has a very distinct click, and it locks itself into place. You're not going to be able to bump that really easily with your fingers if you're not careful. Overall, it's a great looking gun. It certainly feels good in the hands in terms of a gun that, you run off of, obviously you would run this off of a remote line. I do see people out there that are running these with tanks on them, and you don't really want to run the tank and stock configuration. That doesn't feel good at all. You're going to be kind of out here, and it's not going to feel right. If anything, if you want to run it with the tank, pull the stock off. If you want to run it with the stock, run it with the remote. Don't run both. It makes the gun feel really clumsy. But anyway, running it off of a remote line is actually a really comfortable gun in terms of how it feels in your hands and how easy it is to sight down the sight rail. Something else that you may want to also consider too is a lot of people, because you have the Picatinny Rails on top, you may want to put a sight on here, a red dot. Be really careful about the type of loader that you choose. For that, you may want to choose a velocity or something like that, or you may have to end up moving it up here to the front in order to sight down it, because if you go with like a Pinocchio that sweeps back, it's not going to leave you a lot of room on the back of the sight rail to mount your scope. So what we're going to do here before we take it apart is let's go ahead and take a look and see what comes in the box. They did a great job with the packaging on this. It's got a great manual. Now, it's not a color manual, but that's okay. It's still a nice manual. Takes you through the gun really carefully. It's got all the settings, how to program the board, how to take apart the bolt, which I'll show you guys here in a second. Comes with a barrel sock, which is nice. Also comes with a parts kit, which is great. It's a nice little plastic parts kit. It's not all this thrown into a Ziploc bag. Really nice little parts kit. And something else it comes with, which is really cool, is it comes with a rip clip accessory in here. I'm not a very big fan of the rip clip. I've seen them fail too much. The little pivot that goes down through the bottom has a tendency to bevel out. The pin that goes through the bottom has a tendency to bevel out the bottom of the rip clip and jump off the track. I'm not a very big fan of the rip clip. I would highly suggest if you're going to shoot this gun, go with any of the, go with whatever your favorite loader is. I think you're going to find a better, more reliable operation. But the packaging on this gun is top notch. The sights, the sights are going to be down here in the packaging. The feed neck is also going to be down here in the packaging. And let's go ahead and put the box away. We'll tell you this type of box, these big type of boxes are a nightmare to ship. Not easy to ship this type of box. But let's go ahead and weigh it before we take it apart. And let's go ahead and turn it on. Okay, hopefully you can see that there is a battery inside here. Yep, nice bright red light. And let's go ahead and get the scale. 4 pounds, 10.8 ounces. 4 pounds, 10.8 ounces for the TM-15. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring the camera in a little bit closer and let's start taking the gun apart. Alright, so let's start taking it apart. Now this is going to kind of come apart almost kind of like how a Tipman does, or just like how the TM-7 came apart. First thing you want to do is take off your sight rails. I'm sorry, not sight rails, the sights, because you're going to have to split this shell in half. So anything that's holding it together, you need to take apart. Alright, now let's go ahead and remove the feed neck. Feed neck, basically just push the button, slide it forward, there's a notch cut out. Off comes the feed neck. We'll set that aside. Now what we're going to do is the first thing, let's go ahead and remove the grip. Now the grip screws, there's actually long ones and short ones. It's not like the traditional grip where all of the screws are exactly the same. There's actually long screws and short screws. The long screws go at the bottom, short screws go at the top. Let's flip this over. Take apart the other two back here. And also while we're over here, let's go ahead and take apart the magazine release. We'll go ahead and press the button, drop out the magazine release, which actually holds the battery. Set that aside. Now inside of the magazine release, there's a spring. Okay, so we got the little screw, the button, and the spring. Let's go ahead and drop out the spring. There we go. So there's the magazine release. grip comes off. Set that aside. Now we're also going to need to remove these screws here. There's two. And we'll set those aside. Not a hard gun to take apart. I wouldn't do this every single weekend. Maybe if you break paint inside the gun, take it apart. Here's how you take apart the stock. Stock comes apart very easily. 2 screws. Okay. Then you can just kind of take your Allen key and just kind of lift this part up. There's the cover piece. There's going to be 2 internal pieces right here. And out comes the stock. This is actually how you adjust your velocity here. What you do is you take your Allen key and you, I believe you loosen it to increase velocity and you tighten it to decrease velocity. I believe that's how it goes. So tighty lowers the velocity, you back it out, and it increases the velocity. So now we got these parts, we'll set it aside. Now something else too that I didn't mention is the TM-15 is not plastic like the TM-7 was. I believe the shells are made out of magnesium, so it's a little bit different price point. Definitely feels a little bit better. So now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and remove all of the screws, all of the body screws that are holding the clamshells together. And that looks like we got everything. Now you don't have to worry about you don't have to remove the selector switch screw, but you do have to be very careful when you put it back in that it slides into the groove. So let's go ahead and start taking the shells apart. Shell comes apart. There you go. We'll set that aside. Now you can see the barrel here, and this is the chambers, the baffling chambers. Now, I'm not sure what's really to stop somebody from maybe packing cotton in here or some sort of baffling in here. For additional noise suppression, you can certainly do that. I'm not a lawyer, and maybe in the country that you're at it's legal. I'm not sure. I don't particularly care, but you definitely have the chambers here, and you can pack them with some sort of baffling to really get the noise down. So now we're down to the internals of the gun, and like I said, it's pretty much almost like a mini. They move the regulator up here up top. Let's go ahead and remove the bolt. What we're going to do is remove this front screw here. That's just in front of the circuit board. What that's going to do is it's going to release the engine. Now what you're going to want to do is let's remove the screw. There we go. Now what I would highly recommend doing is taking a swab and pushing it in, gently pushing it in through the front, and you should be able to slide your whole bolt assembly out. Okay, there you go. Keep pushing. And the spring should be in there somewhere. There it is. So we've got the bolt out and the poppet assembly. And there you go. And then if you break paint or anything like that, you can just take your swab and just run it through right here. And you're all clean. And then now what you can do to put it back in is just slide it in and push it. You got to make sure that it does line up with the pin. And you're going to get some resistance here because there is a spring. Now let's go ahead and put the screw in that holds the whole engine assembly. There we go. Now we can start putting this back together again. First thing I would probably start with is the stock. Let's go ahead and start putting the stock back together. Slide these Allen keys out of the way. Put this little piece there. Put in the little sliding piece, make sure it's in the track. And now here's where you have to be careful with your selector switch. You need to make sure that your selector switch lines up with that little pin right there just below the circuit board. So this is probably the hardest part about putting this back together again, is making sure that your selector switch lines up properly. And you should not have to force this in any way, shape, or form. It should just drop right in. If you feel any sort of resistance whatsoever, you need to make sure that you pretty much start over. Pick it back up and put it back down again, and it should slide on just as easy as it slid apart. There we go. We pretty much have the shells together. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to start reassembling the screws. There we go. Seems like I'm grabbing the wrong Allen key every single time. But that's okay, because my videos can be an hour long, 4 hours long, as you guys saw. Well, and we'll even top that. Got the longest video on the internet, 4 hours long. We'll make one even longer one of these days. I don't know what we're going to cover. Maybe a PMR versus mini review. I don't know. All right, let's get this all together again. Okay, now that we have the shells put together, let's go ahead and finish assembling the magazine or the stock. Make sure that's in the track. Put that into place. There we go. Now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and install the magazine release. Now how the magazine release goes in, push the bar in from the left side. And you kind of need to hold it in place or it will fall out. Let's go ahead and drop the spring in there. And now let's go ahead and put the button into place. There we go. Just test it, make sure it works, which it does. And take our magazine, put it in place. We are good there. Now let's take our grip. And like I said at the beginning, long screws go at the bottom, short screws go at the top. So there we go. So let's take it out and do the efficiency test with it, come back for the conclusion. Hey, it's Mike with TechBB, and we're about to do the efficiency test on the BT TM-15. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera off the tripod. And let's go ahead and take a look at the gauge. And it looks like we should be sitting right at about 4,000 PSI. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tank temperature reading. Let's see where we're at here. About 95 degrees looks like on the tank. So we'll go ahead and load up our first pod. Let's see if we've got this. Set it on the first setting. I'll even make it easy on you. If you put it all the way down to the bottom, it'll be full auto. Yeah. Just hold the trigger. Easy as pie. So let me go ahead and set the camera back up again. All right. You're going to see a nice pink stream coming out of this gun. RPS Paintball was nice enough to sponsor the TechBB show, and it's going to allow us to do a lot more efficiency tests, use a better quality paint for our videos. And the brand we're shooting right now is a nice hot pink RPS Premium. Drop the pod. You gotta love full auto. I mean, it's so easy, even Willie can do it. That's right, even Willie can do it. Better do a good job too, because I'm going to replace you with a rubber band one of these days. That's right. Can I shoot you? So, looks like we're starting to run out of steam. We'll slow it down a little bit. One ball. You getting out there? Nah.
Yeah.
That's about it. Okay. Let's go ahead and take the loader off. Or we can pour it on. Yeah, we can pour it in. And one last ball in there. You can keep that one. All right, put it in here. Looks like we got probably about 7.5 pods out of the BT TM-15, and that was shooting full auto. Thank you. He's just shooting at me, trying to kill me. Okay, so we just got done with the efficiency test, and once again, much love to RPS Paintball for sponsoring the TechPB show and allowing us to use their paint to test the guns out. Because let me tell you what, this gun would not have been efficiency tested if it wasn't for their support. So if you guys love RPS, RPS Paintball sponsoring the TechPB show, definitely put a nice little thank you down in the comments box. Anyway, overall, what do I think of the TM-15? Is it worth $450? Absolutely, I think it is. I mean, the Mini has been one of the best sellers for invert, and the Mini engine, there's millions of those guns that are out there on the market, and those are selling right now for about $300. For an extra $150, you get the Picatinny Rails, you get the selector switch, you get the magazine, you get the nice stock. It's definitely, and also the baffling inside here. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have some fun, possibly packing the internals of this to try to muffle the sound of their markers even more. There's a lot that you get in this gun. One of the things, I'm going to go on a rant. Now, this is not, BT's fault or anything like that, but paintball players, we have all this room for accessories on here, and the only thing we really have for paintball right now is a flashlight, which doesn't really help us much. If you turn it on in a night game, all you can see is the paint coming at you, and the laser pointers, which don't help us at all. Out there in the woods and in most paintball situations, laser pointers are useless, and most fields have them banned anyway because they don't want you shining them in someone else's eye. What would I like to see as real accessories? Now, BT can get on this. I don't go and use these ideas. I don't care, But I would love to see a camera mount, a Picatinny camera mount that will, that has the little tripod flat so you can put a camera on there. Something else that I don't see, which would be really nice too, is as you see here on my Metadyne launcher, I have a small tank. It would be really nice if somebody made a Picatinny mounted ASA. Wouldn't that be cool? So you can put like these little, 14 cubic inch Ninja tanks and put it right here on the underside of the gun, and then maybe run a, or on top of the gun, and also maybe run a Q loader or something like that, to really condense this down, run the hose right in through here or something like that. But there's really not a lot of real paintball accessories that are out there to take advantage of these Picatinny rails that are on here. But the TM-15 shot great. The muffling definitely helped a little bit. You can hear it in the video. I've got a video coming up for you guys with me using it on the field. But once again, be really conscious about what kind of loader that you choose. If you're going to put a sight on this gun, obviously, as you can see here with the Pinocchio, the standard sights just barely fit. You may want to look at possibly mounting it in front of it if you're going to put a red dot on here, but this gun shot great. It definitely shot great. I definitely think it's a night and day improvement over the TM7 for $450. You're not going to be disappointed. So we're going to go ahead and end the video with some picture-in-picture camera footage of the TM15 out there on the field. Thank you very much.
Hey, he's hanging out the back left. Hey, he just filled that snake. He just filled it again. He just filled the right side again. Right side's on me. Right side's on me. Hey, there's somebody in the house. There is somebody in the house. Yep, right side and back left. Hey, watch my left. Okay. Bounced off the foot. Hey, watch my left. There's far left, house, and back right. I'll even make it easy on you. If you put it all the way down the bottom, be full auto.
Yeah,
just hold
I know.
the trigger. Easy as pie. So let me go ahead and set the camera back up.
I shoot too?
Looks like we're starting to run out of steam. We slow it down a little bit. One bottle.
Yeah.
That's about it. Okay.